Welcome to Sizzle Fantasy Sports, the channel with the most sizzling hot fantasy takes and analysis, presented by your host, Gavin.
Rodgers clean pocket, throws the middle of the end zone. Devante, touchdown, and a dagger.
How's it going, you guys? Welcome back to the SFS channel. My name's Gavin, and today we finally have Eric back on the channel here, making some content with me. He has been working hard behind the scenes, getting a lot of stuff ready for you guys and doing some content stuff. He's been working on the thumbnails for you guys, and he is a huge part, and he will be featured in my draft guide coming out this next week. So Eric's going to be on here making some more content in the future, so keep your eyes out for him. But today we had some bombshell news. Well, when this video is going up, it will have been yesterday, but the Miami Dolphins, have turned Laramie Tunsil into a franchise-changing piece here.
Yes.
They've turned him into, 3-4 first-round picks. They ended up in that original trade with Houston, securing their first-round pick this season, which landed the third overall pick, which yesterday, they then moved back to 12 with the San Francisco 49ers, who now hold that third overall pick. And then the Dolphins from that 12 spot moved back up to the number 6 overall pick with the Philadelphia Eagles. So lots of trades going on, lots of picks were exchanged today. It's wild. We've got Eric's mock draft 2.0 for you guys. We're going to get into everything here, talk some football, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Let's get into it. All right, you guys, we're here in the mock draft. You guys see at the bottom of your screen, if you're new around here, like the majority of my viewers are, make sure you go down and click that subscribe button so you can become a part of the SFS community. We'd love to have you guys around here. But Eric, this is your mock draft.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about the first overall pick.
This is the consensus pick, as everyone knows. We're expecting Trevor Lawrence to go straight to the Jags first overall. It's kind of like Joe Burrow last year. He's the best quarterback available, and generally quarterbacks are going to be the ones who go on the top of the draft, and the Jags are in need of a big playmaker, and he's just the best one available this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Trevor Lawrence, 3-year starter at Clemson. He's been the top-rated quarterback in his class all 3 seasons. This guy's a beast. He's got the size, the arm talent, everything going for him here at number 1 to the Jags. Then at number 2, I love your pick here, Zack Wilson out of BYU heading to the Jets. Why don't you tell us about the new franchise quarterback who will be taking over Sam Darnold's job in New York?
I think that Zack Wilson is the only other QB that should start right away, or at least has the capability of starting right away, which Trevor Lawrence would be the other one. Zack Wilson has shown, especially in his pro day today, or actually yesterday at the point of you seeing this video, but he was throwing dots. He was looking like an NFL-ready quarterback, and that's what the Jets need. It's time to move off from Sam. It's time to bring in some new young talent. I like Sam, and we like Sam Darnold.
Sam.
I have a jersey. You've probably seen me wear it before if you're a returning subscriber,
True
which
SFS
everyone here
fan.
should be.
Yes.
And
Subscribe.
Zach Wilson has shown that he has the archetype to be an NFL QB with that strong arm, accuracy, can throw in tight windows, can also scramble and move around the pocket freely, read his receivers well, which is a really big thing. So I think Zack Wilson is the one that should go here if the Jets weren't to trade out and stick with the Sam plan.
Yeah, and like we talked about, we love Sam Darnold. I think that New York is just not the right fit for him, and there's been too many rumors that have probably torn down his confidence with that team. Move off him here, Zack Wilson. He's got that New York swagger.
Yep. He's
He's got the football intangibles that you're looking for to lead the franchise. Did you see that throw he made rolling to his left and throwing like 60 yards downfield back to his right? The guy, he has had his play style comped to Aaron Rodgers. Those are the type of body torque throws that we see those elite quarterbacks make. This guy, if he can stay healthy on the field and find success, is going to do big things for the Jets. Then at number 3 here, our first trade coming into this mock draft, the big news that caused us to make an extra mock this week. The 49ers trading this year's 12th overall pick, their 2022 first rounder, and their 2023 first rounder. So a lot is vetted in this pick here. Moving up, we have them, or Eric has them, taking Justin Fields, the quarterback out of Ohio State. Obviously, there's 2 or 3 quarterbacks in play here. but tell us why you went Justin Fields at this third spot.
So here, the other quarterback that I would truly consider would be Trey Lance. I really like Trey Lance, and I'd probably rank him higher than Justin Fields. We both would. We just like what we've seen from him better. Clearly, we don't have a lot of film on him, but Justin Fields tends to look down receivers. And another weird thing is that the Niners are saying they're going to stick with Jimmy G, so Fields wouldn't start right away, which is kind of what I said earlier. I don't think that anyone else but Zack Wilson and Trevor Lawrence should start right away. Justin Fields should sit behind a seasoned quarterback. I guess that's Jimmy G in this situation. I don't love Jimmy G compared to Justin Fields. They're not really super similar types of quarterbacks, but Shanahan is a great coach, and that team could build up a young QB. And Justin Fields could end up exceeding our expectations.
For sure.
He has great physical traits. He has a great arm. He has everything you want. It's just that NFL QB mind is not there.
Right, and you hit that right in the head there. He just needs to develop a bit more. We think it's perfect for both Lance and Fields, who are similar players and prospects. They're both a bit raw and could use coaching up.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan is a great landing spot here. My one question is, you move up to 3 if you're San Francisco. We've seen the success they've had with Jimmy G. What if you move up to 3 here and that team has great success under him next year? I know you can save a lot of money moving to a younger quarterback and save some cap space to resign those huge defensive players. But just something to think about here, for myself at least as a Green Bay fan, seeing what we've got going on with Aaron Rodgers and even an unproven rookie who hasn't even suited up for an NFL game yet in Jordan Love. At 4 here, Eric's got the Atlanta Falcons taking Rashawn Slater, the offensive lineman out of Northwestern. I say that because I think that this is a versatility pick, and I think that's where your head was at with this one. I really like it. Rashawn Slater over Penei Sewell here because Slater can play all 5 positions. The Falcons need help inside and outside, and you can kick Slater wherever he needs to go in that lineup depending on where the need is at the moment. I think this pick could really help Matt Ryan and get that offense back on track here in Atlanta.
I know there's a lot of Penei Sewell worshippers out there, and you're gonna maybe you're already typing, but Rashawn Slater is, if not the best technical tackle or even interior offensive lineman that we've seen in a long time. He's an undersized guy, which is a worry, and especially for the people who have said, oh, maybe Rashawn Slater is the one who goes to the Bengals because you already got Jonah Williams, who's a little undersized. But in this case for the Falcons, they are in need to protect their QB who was sacked 40 times last season. Matt Ryan is a very good QB, but not mobile. So you need to give him someone who is able to just protect him. And I think you're getting the most value out of a first-round pick when you take a guy like Rashawn Slater, who's proven he was very good against Chase Young, who was the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I just think that you get the most value out of this. It's less of a project than Penei Sewell, but Rashawn Slater, very, very good.
Right, and we're not knocking what Penei Sewell can be.
No.
We understand the heights
I
of
think
what
Penei
his
Sewell
talent
could be much better than Rashawn Slater in his
right,
career.
but when you think about Penei Sewell, you don't think about kicking him into a guard spot where you might with Slater. And Slater, a maybe underrated note here, is that the Falcons' run game was very, very awful last season. They could use a strong pulling guard to get that running game kick-started. That's something they could also use with this pick here at 4. Then at 5, we've got Cincinnati going with Penei Sewell here.
Yep.
They need offensive line help. In every single one of my mocks, I'm sure Eric wouldn't sway either. Protect Joe Burrow, please, Cincinnati. Yep. Don't mess this pick up. Don't pick Kyle Pitts like I saw Mel Kiper do in his mock draft. That's clownish behavior.
That is clownish,
Do not take a skill player when you've already got a decent receiving core, and you can address that later on. Penei Sewell here at 5 on the board. It's the clear pick for me.
Yeah, Penei Sewell, again, I was talking about Slater, but the ceiling with Penei Sewell is much higher. He's more athletic than Slater, even though Slater, again, is very athletic, little undersized, compared to Penei Sewell, who is an absolute monster. The thing I've talked about with offensive linemen in the NFL is that they can develop so well.
Yeah.
The coaches at the NFL level know how to develop these linemen, and they're smart. Offensive linemen in the NFL have the instincts. You see Quentin Nelson, who's able to learn on the fly and really read things, that really separates the good and the great players. So I think Penei Sewell can develop into one of the better tackles in the entire league.
Yeah, for sure. At 6 here, another one of those moving pieces from that Friday trade fest. The Dolphins, where they moved back up from that 12 spot they received from San Francisco into the Eagles' 6th overall pick, then sending Philly back to that 12 spot, which you'll see later on. We've got the Dolphins going Jamar Chase out of LSU here. Jamar Chase, my wide receiver 1 on the board. I'm not sure about you, but I think this works really nicely. You brought in Will Fuller, who I think can be a really, really nice player. But if you potentially put him in a spot where he's the number 2 guy even in that offense, you've given yourself the out on Tua, where you will know or not whether he's capable or you need to go a different direction at that quarterback spot, because that offense then very quickly becomes very, very talented and has a very high ceiling for potential.
I think the thought here was they did move up because they were at the 12, the Dolphins here. Then they traded back to the 6, meaning they have something that they really want.
Right.
And they're thinking that maybe the Lions at number 7 are going to be the ones who take Jamar Chase. So I think their plan was always to take Jamar Chase at number 3, but they realized he's probably not going to go there once he realized that they are going to be quarterback heavy in the top of the draft. So Jamar Chase can be picked at number 6, and they can still keep that pick at 18 later on in the draft and get another need.
I cannot wait to see what Miami does in this draft. Kudos to that front office. These guys are playing chess, not checkers.
Yes.
So many moves were made in the last 12 hours at the time of this recording that just look far and away way smarter than a lot of things the other league teams are doing. So great job, Miami. I can't wait to see where they go with this pick. Jamar Chase would be a home run at 6. At number 7, Eric has the Detroit Lions going Micah Parsons out of Penn State. Eric, tell us about the new linebacker for the Lions.
It's better if you say, like, I'm the one who picked it, because then you can yell at me. You can say, Eric, with a K. Make sure you get the K in there when you're yelling at me. Okay, anyway, Micah Parsons. He's a guy that is extremely athletic, had a crazy fast 40. He can cover each end of the field. He is a lateral mover. And I think that his ceiling is one of those great middle linebackers that we always talk about, those Roquan Smith, those Devin Whites, those really athletic, fast linebackers. I also think he could end up being kind of that project, really athletic guy who isn't able to get coached up. I think he might struggle, but I think that the Lions are putting together something. I think that Campbell is trying to build a personality, and Micah Parsons is a guy with a lot of personality, as we know, and he's gonna bite your kneecaps, quite frankly. He has had some off-field issues, but I think that if he's developed the proper way, an athletic, strong linebacker, which is a big need for the Lions, just a big playmaker on defense. They're really lacking an image on defense with just strong, athletic, fast guys. I think that this is a quality pick.
Yeah, over on the One Pride podcast I've been doing with Micro Mike the last 2 Thursday nights here, we've talked a lot about the defensive scheme for the Lions that we expect to see here. And the general consensus between all of us has been that the 4-3 is where this team should go.
Yeah.
Because the weakness of the defense is at the linebacker position and in the secondary, and the strength is in that defensive front. So you might as well put the talent, put the money in the guys that are already producing on the field and limit the amount of players you're weak at on the football field. And then Micah Parsons comes in and still fills one of those needs. I think in a 4-3 system, Micah Parsons can be coached up to maybe improve some of those lacking coverage abilities, and he can use those strengths to fly downfield and plug up those run lanes. I think at 7, this could be a great move.
I think another quick note is that this wide receiver class is deep. I know the Lions are in need of another receiver, but second round is looking really nice for wide receivers. I don't expect too many more wide receivers than maybe 5 in the first round. That would be probably the max. We know our top guys. But I think that the Lions can wait. They're a developing team. But defense is big in the first round. I think that skill positions are the kind of guys either later on you can get in free agency in the next years to come. When you're really developing who you are as a team, I think you need to get those big personality defensive guys and build something up. They want to be a hard-nosed, run the ball, play strong defense team in the NFC North, which is kind of the flavor of the NFC North.
Absolutely, and just kind of piggybacking off what you said there, one thing Mike and I have been talking about and some of the other guys on the show is that Jared Goff and the system he ran in LA, he never really had a true alpha wide receiver one. Mm-hmm. That's kind of that more Jamar Chase style wide receiver. He's had more of the Robert Woods, the Cooper Kupps, the guys that run really solid routes. They can run the whole route tree, and they're good after the catch. But they don't have to be physical beasts that go out there and dominate you with their physicality and their ability to impose their will on the defensive back. They want guys who can go out there and fly down the field and make plays in the play-action game coming off of that strong run game. I think that's how the Lions build this team successfully moving forward. Then at 8 here, Trey Lance is headed to the Carolina Panthers. This is a dream fit for me, and I love this pick from you here, Eric. I think Trey Lance, you give him the chance to sit behind Teddy B, learn from a true professional in the National Football League, and give a guy with all the world of potential here the opportunity to mature for a season and grow into those shoes as the next dominant Carolina Panthers quarterback.
I think this one was written in the stars. We're not going to see Deshaun Watson most likely go anywhere. It's sounding like he's a scumbag, quite frankly, and that he's in trouble. And it's time, because Teddy is not the guy, it sounds, that Trey Lance is going to be the future. It's not necessarily going to be a starter right away, but it's a perfect fit to learn. And he can be molded. We don't know how ready he is, truly. We haven't seen enough film. But in the games he's played, Trey Lance has been dominant. Yeah. He's a huge quarterback. He's got legs. He's got a cannon of an arm. And for the most part, he's pretty accurate. And he's not working with the greatest receivers ever. So I think that with Matt Rule being a very good coach,
very good, I think
that this is the perfect spot for Trey Lance.
Yeah, and when you talk about Trey Lance, you not necessarily the same player, but just from a frame of reference, another guy who came out of NDSU, Carson Wentz, he's a guy who has all the world of talent. Same deal. He's athletic, maybe not even quite as athletic as Trey Lance. Big arm, mobile, comes out, and under great coaching with Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator in Philadelphia and Doug Peterson, he was an MVP candidate. But then when the coaching staff kind of started to dissolve, his confidence did as well, and his play declined. But Trey Lance, going with Matt Rule, as you said, you put him in an offensive situation where he's got Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, who I absolutely love. It's a great situation. They can keep inserting talent into that offense. Yeah. There's a lot of room for improvement and sustained success for Trey Lance as a Carolina Panther. At number 9, here the Denver Broncos select Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. I think that while cornerback is not a extreme must pick here at number 9, it still is probably their position of most need outside of the quarterback spot, which right now they'd probably be settling for Mac Jones. And if there's anything the Broncos have learned recently, stop reaching on your quarterbacks. Paxton Lynch, that was a mistake. Drew Lock, as much as I like Drew Lock and his swagger and what he did at Mizzou, his play style has not translated well. He looks like Jay Cutler, and he kind of plays like him too. So Denver's looking for a quarterback.
It was my biggest fear.
But pair Surtain outside with Kyle Fuller on the other side, I think that could make, that no-fly zone 2.0 start to get revamped there in Mile High.
Yeah, he's a big cornerback, very physical. He showed some very good things in his pro day. I just think that at this point, with Caleb Farley having that surgery, we really are kind of unsure about him. He was the number one. And unfortunately, whenever the word surgery comes up, you're going to fall. It's sounding like this surgery could be an issue. They tend to have issues, or sometimes they fail, but let's assume the best. He's set to be ready for training camp, I believe. So I really like Caleb Farley, but here Patrick Surtain is gonna take it. And next you're gonna see maybe a surprise, but another corner who has been on the rise because of their pro day. I think pro day is valuable, but in general, it's kind of just the consensus that players are starting to move up, and sometimes we just kind of have to go with that. And guess what NFL teams are going to feel.
Right, and I think something key to talk about here is no surgery. Caleb Farley is my cornerback one on the board. Before I heard about it, I was locked in on Caleb Farley as the top guy in this class.
We had him going first for a few drafts.
Injuries is something that's out of the player's control. It's really up to fate if they rehab properly and if they're able to make a successful comeback. This injury that he has in particular has been one that's noted to have lingering effects, to frequently cause irritation and limit the playing ability of people who are affected by it. So we're just going to have to really play it by ear here and watch how he is able to perform on the field and see if he is able to reach the heights of his game. But for now, he moves down our boards a bit. After Patrick Surtain here, we have J.C. Horn, the cornerback out of South Carolina, heading to the Dallas Cowboys here. This is an absolute steal for me. J.C. Horn has been flying up my boards after his pro day here. He has all of the physical and analytical traits you look for in cornerback ones in today's game. He ran a 4.39 at his pro day. That's a faster 40-yard time than Jalen Ramsey. And this is a guy who has longer arms than Ramsey and who has other athletic features that he did better at his performance testing than Ramsey did. So for a guy who is impressive with his length and his press man abilities in college, I think Horn walks into the NFL and fills a huge team need here for the Cowboys, who really struggled in the back end last season and could use this talent to revamp that defense. Yeah,
it's about time they get another alpha corner. That's kind of what this draft is about. I think a lot of teams are in need of a corner. At least these big teams like the Broncos and the Cowboys are in need of that guy who's going to become the leader of the secondary and be that strong corner that you really want them to develop into. I think corner is such a difficult position to solidify, and it can go away so quickly.
It's really scheme dependent too, whether you're a man or zone guy. That plays a huge impact on how you produce on the field.
There's just so many good receivers, and corners just have to cover them. So I think corner in the first round is very valuable, and don't be surprised if you see way more corners go than you would ever expect.
I think even last year, there was guys I was thinking were day 2, late day 2 picks even, going in the first round because of how needed that position is. It's definitely a premium position, and finding shutdown guys is a difficult task. At 11 here, the Giants are taking Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. I love this pick here, Eric. I think you have to make this all about making this season, figuring out whether or not Daniel Jones is that guy. He's had his issues, but he's also had his moments. He's had flashes where he looks like an incredible athlete. He's been a winner at times, but he's also had I think the most fumbles or lost fumbles by a rookie quarterback or something like that.
Sometimes he trips over his own feet.
Sometimes he has a 70-yard run and isn't touched and falls down before he gets to the end zone. He's had his blooper moments, and he's had some really, really signature moments. I think you bring in Kenny Golladay here. You've got Evan Ingram. Saquon Barkley is coming back. Sterling Shepard is a stud. Darius Slayton can get things done deep. Bring in Jalen Waddle here. No excuses. It's time to put the pressure on your young quarterback. At the very least, if he's a flop, you know you can move on.
Kenny Golladay is going to be the main man. And number 2 is probably Slayton, and Waddle can be that slot guy. I think that Shepard. I think that Shepard will also rotate in. The Giants actually throw a lot, and they're going to rotate a lot of receivers. We see it often with the Giants. And Waddle truly should be out there all the time because he can do everything. They have been in need of a big playmaker with that speed. Ever since Odell Beckham left, they have been missing that speed guy who gets in those little pockets that are open in the defense and just makes the big catch no matter what. He always goes up, and he is almost always coming down with the ball.
Yeah, Slayton's done that, but he has not been consistent with it. Adds some more talent, and this could be a deadly offensive crew, and I think under talked about right now is Saquon Barkley's coming back. I can't wait.
It's going to be exciting.
When I watch that guy, he is electric. I hope that knee is holding up and comes back to 100% because Saquon Barkley is something that we could all use in our fantasy lives as well. So for the number 12 pick here, the Philadelphia Eagles go Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. This guy is an athletic beast, more of a wide receiver even, and a guy who I think is just an all-around offensive threat. Tell us about the Eagles' new pass catcher here, and why we went tight end over wide receiver at 12.
We are Dallas Goddard fans. Ertz did not re-sign yet.
Well, Ertz is seeking a trade.
That's
they're
right.
not in his team's plans.
He's not a free agent, but yeah, he's seeking a trade. He's not going to be in the plans, and he really wasn't too much in the plans anyway. He's going to move away from the team, and Kyle Pitts would be really the tight end one. And I think Goddard would turn into a blocker. They do like to run two tight end sets. Yep, which is a big thing. And that even helps with the offensive line issues. If you can have Goddard, who's a little better blocker, and then Pitts can be more of the pass catcher. He's not as much of a blocker, but Pitts can be moved around everywhere. He can play in the slot as well. He's just an elite pass catcher, and the Eagles are in big need of an elite pass catcher. Frankly, he's one of the best just receivers in general, and that's kind of the issue that we've seen. We wanted to have Waddle higher, we have Waddle higher, but it's Kyle Pitts is really close, and you've been seeing Kyle Pitts go really early because he really is like an insane receiver.
Yeah, something to note here. This was the last move, I guess, per se, in that Dolphins trading frenzy today.
Oh, yeah.
This formerly, the last time we did a mock, belonged to the 49ers, but now it's the Eagles pick. So I think here we've seen pushback from this pick that I've made in the past at the 6th overall selection for the Eagles. I think what it comes down to is Philadelphia is in desperate need of a wide receiver 1 type build or a physically imposing type wide receiving threat. Jalen Reagor was your first round pick last year, but he to me is a Deshaun Jackson 2.0.
Yeah.
He's a burner on the field. He can do nice little end around stuff and do some finesse plays. But you need a guy who is just a grown man out there and will command those targets. Jalen Hurts, they reportedly tried to move up to number 3 and get Zack Wilson, but they weren't able to get a package done. The Eagles love their quarterback circus, I guess. But nonetheless, get your quarterback a guy who he can at least depend on for 10, 12 targets a game. If you use Kyle Pitts right in this offense, I know you've already got Goddard, and Richard Rodgers quickly became a fan favorite there in Philly. It's all right. Tight end can be a deep position. You can still roll all 3 of them out on the field if you need to, but Kyle Pitts is far and away a superior talent and just a different level of an athlete than those other guys currently on the roster. At 13 here, I really like this pick. I've done it once before in my mock drafts. Devante Smith heading to the Chargers to be a member of that Los Angeles football team. I think Devante Smith is very comparable to Keenan Allen. Long, great route runner, very small or skinny type wide receiver. But like I said, those routes are crisp. If you learn from Keenan Allen, I think he can have a really refined game and become one of the more dangerous threats, especially when your quarterback is Justin Herbert.
Yeah, in this case, he'll be the number 2. Mike Williams is no longer on the team.
A free agent.
So I don't see him re-signing. Devante Smith adds some more speed to this team because Keenan Allen isn't really a burner. Devante Smith has that speed, but also kind of that archetype of Keenan Allen, which can make him really valuable. I think that we've seen really good route running as well. That's why you would comp him towards Keenan Allen, because he is a player who has a large route tree, but also combines that with very good speed.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this here, and it actually looks like the Chargers picked up his 5th-year option or something along the lines of that. So Mike Williams potentially will still be a member of the Los Angeles football team, but nonetheless, I think that he, as a guy who I believe was a top 10 pick for the Chargers at one point.
Yeah, he was a first rounder.
He's an athletic freak. The plays he's made at times in his career are absurd. Go back and watch his game this past year from the New Orleans Saints. He completely torched that defense and just bully balled every single member of that secondary who was on the field. Also, quick little joke here. If you're a Saints fan, hope Marshawn Lattimore gets bailed out.
Yeah, jeez.
But nonetheless, Mike Williams, I'm a huge fan of him. I've got him on my dynasty team for fantasy, but I think Devante Smith could be a stud here. Keenan Allen's getting close to those 30s. Why don't you build up a new talent at the wide receiver position that can come in here and be a stud? At 14, the Minnesota Vikings go Christian Darrisaw here, the offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. I think this is pretty standard. Please protect Kirk Cousins. He's a very, very solid and underrated quarterback, highly disrespected, but he gets smacked almost instantly after he catches the snap. Protect him and improve that run game even more, getting yourself a dominant blocker off the edge. I think Darrisaw is a solid pick here.
It's about time they take a tackle and just truly go all in on defending the QB, who really keeps them in games sometimes because their defense has been struggling. And that's something that they can address later in the draft. But Christian Darrisaw, one of our top tackles in the draft right after those top two with Slater and Payne.
At 15 here, the Pats go Quiddy Payne out of Michigan. Eric, why don't you tell us about our first overall edge rusher on the board?
Yeah, Quiddy Payne had a really good pro day, and what we've seen from him is almost like Khalil Mack type strength. He had a crazy bench press reps. I believe it was 36 or something like that. He looked really good. Clearly, that's something that it does translate. Bench press translates to kind of just like the hand speed, the get off, and the punch. He's very good at shedding his blockers and getting in there and taking down the QB in a good way. He's not a guy who's gonna just put his head down and smack the QB. He's gonna take him down. He's gonna do a full-on tackle. From everything I've seen, he is making sure he's taking that QB down and sometimes, getting at the ball. He's shown that he can be an NFL type edge rusher, and that's what I've really liked to see.
Yeah, I'd say the one knock I have for Quiddy Payne and that I've heard about him, he's got a bit shorter of arms. He's 6'4", which seems tall, but at the pass rusher position or as a defensive end, you're looking at guys who are typically 6'5", 6'6", longer type guys. But I think his hands, his finesse moves that he has on the edge, they're the best in this class. And for that reason, he is my number one edge rusher here. I think he is the most solid guy to project to translate into the NFL here. And for a Pats team that is so desperate to find a pass rusher, they just brought in Matt Judon, but I still think you need to add to that group. Chase Winovich, I think, was your leading guy in sacks with like somewhere between 3 and 5 last season. Yeah. It was a pretty poor number. Bring in some extra talent here. Keep that defense rolling, and hopefully New England can get something going. But I love Quiddy Payne here at 15. Then at 16, Caleb Farley falls down far enough here to the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is a home run hit for the Cardinals, 100%. If he comes back and has no issues with that back surgery that he had, I think that he will be just fine. But I understand the concern here. You can never be too cautious with injuries in the National Football League when your livelihood is pretty much valued as your body. Yeah. I mean, your body is your biggest asset as a pro athlete. Caleb Farley, though, his technique is the best in this class, combined with his athleticism and coverage abilities. This guy can be a corner one. They just brought in Malcolm Butler, but keep inserting talent into that group because you're playing some pretty good wide receivers in the NFC West.
Butler's expected to be that slot guy, so they're still looking for that alpha. And Caleb Farley would be that guy. I'm a believer in taking guys who are a little injury prone. It's still the first round. Everyone is taking a risk. There's really no sureness about it. We've seen first overall picks not end up. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be very good, but you never really know. So even if a guy is injury prone or had a surgery, you should still believe in them. We saw Jalen Johnson for the Bears. Clearly not a first round pick, but he was a very legitimate guy who could have gone in the first round if it hadn't been for his injury, and the Bears got a steal. Clearly, he has been pretty healthy as of late. He didn't really have too many issues this season, but I'm hoping he can stay healthy. That's kind of the issue they're thinking. Is it valuable to take a first-round guy that may have injury issues? But when they have this much talent, when they're projected as the number one guy, I think you still need to take a chance on him in the first round.
Right. Even my head goes to a guy like Jair Alexander, who was dominant in his junior season with Louisville, but then come his senior season, he didn't really play much because he was hurt. Green Bay rolled the dice on him. He might have turned out to be the best corner in that class, even ahead of Denzel Ward, who went like 4th overall. So it is worth the risk sometimes. Play your hand here. See what happens. I think if you're the Cardinals, this is a move that could turn out really well for you. At 17, I like this pick as well. The Raiders taking Elijah Vera-Tucker. Very versatile offensive lineman. They cut 4 of their 5 starters.
That was my thought. I'm like, what should we do with the Raiders? Oh, wait. They have no O-line. They have like 1 starter. Yeah. Elijah Vera-Tucker is arguably the best lineman to just get in the first round because, again, with Slater, he's one of those guys who can play anywhere. He can play tackle and guard, which is just so valuable for the first round. offensive linemen are undervalued in the eyes of the media, I would say.
Oh,
that
for sure.
Their value in an NFL game is huge. Think about the highest paid player on your team. Who protects them? Oh, the offensive line. So you get a guy who you know is coachable. If he can play several positions, you know you can develop him more. So that's my thought here. I think that the Raiders are a team who always has guys like this. They always have these interesting characters that have kind of weird names, and they're always like exciting.
Richie Incognito.
Incognito and what are the other ones? There's just so many. I don't even know. Oh man.
But yeah, the Raiders, Derek Carr, he can move a little bit, but you don't want him.
He is one of the worst quarterbacks with bad protection.
Yeah.
And lately, their offense was actually very productive when he had a great offensive line
around him last season, and he produced very well.
I'm sure you've seen the pictures of the perfect blocking, literally
It's
just
so-
a force field, and he's just standing there in the pocket, just sitting there.
I forget when
Where's
those...
my terrible receiver?
When those Henry Ruggs bust of the year, those memes of Derek Carr with the literal world's cleanest pocket around him with these massive human beings protecting him, they're all gone. So you have to go offensive line here. No question about it at 17. At 18, I really like this pick as well. Versatile linebacker. He can do a lot of things for that Brian Flores defense. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the best name in the 2021 NFL Draft. I've been saying it over and over and over again, progressively getting a little better each time.
Yes.
But look, this guy can cover. I saw him in the college football playoffs playing coverage snaps on Devante Smith.
Yeah.
Like, he is going at teams' wide receivers. He'll bump them, and he will play physical.
Yeah.
This guy's a little bit undersized. He's about 6 foot, 6'1", a little bit lighter at about 215 pounds, but he's versatile. He can do a lot of things. I think Flores would love to use him as a chess piece for that defense that is very well schemed.
Yeah, a lot of people say he's a little raw. You know, he's got that smaller build, but again, a really good coaching team. We're seeing Flores just turn nothing into something.
I mean, Agba was not even valued by the Browns after they picked him in the 3rd round, and he comes in there and he's a double-digit sack guy.
Yeah, so you see a guy who's got all these intangibles, and you plug him in, and he does great. I can really see this. My other thought was Zaven Collins, but he's someone who I really think could be the best linebacker in this draft in general.
I think there's a chance that could happen as well because of some development issues, and it all depends on landing spot. We've talked about this a lot with our fantasy content, is that team situation, schematic preference from coaches, it really matters because some players do some things really well and they are awful at other things. So you can get picked apart or you can thrive depending on where you land.
Even seasoned veterans we've seen, like Robert Quinn for the Bears, my favorite team. As you can see, I'm wearing a Cubs shirt today, but he does not look very good with Chicago. We gave him a 5-year contract for some reason, and the scheme just doesn't fit him, and it's just how it works.
Ryan Pace for NFC North General Manager of the Year.
Of the century.
And number 19 here, the Washington football team finally can put some of their future quarterback questions to rest here. Mac Jones out of Alabama. Tell us why you think this is a good fit for the Washington football team.
So here was my thought. I wanted to go Mac Jones with the Patriots, but I just feel like the Patriots are moving in a different direction now.
It's not dynamic enough.
Yes, they're moving into a direction of young, fast talent, just strong guys, and Mac Jones is not that guy. He's a ball distributor. I think he might just start somewhere right away. This case, it's probably going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
But he's going to be sitting behind. I really just don't like Mac Jones,
you know who
guys.
the Washington
I'm sorry.
football team is? It's the Dolphins from last year. They're going to be doing quarterback hot potato
a little
with
carousel.
Fitzmagic and Mac Jones, and we'll probably see Heineke, and who knows, Kyle Allen might get tossed in there for a game. I don't know what to think about Mac Jones. I see where some people really praise him. He has a great quick release. He's very good in a clean pocket at deep throws and hitting guys in stride. But I haven't seen enough tight window throws out of him. Devante Smith, Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. You're talking about some of the best college wide receivers the last 2 seasons.
We know he can throw at 40 yards, over the
over
defense.
A safety's head that can't keep up with the receiver.
Throw him every time, basically, because they just go whoop. Oh,
I
hey.
think if you give him time and in the right system, Mac Jones can be a productive guy. But if you're looking for a high ceiling, that's not the pick I'd go with here. At 20 here, your Bears. Let's talk about it. Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State University.
Yeah, Tevin Jenkins is a very good tackle. He's the next one down from Darisaw.
I'm glad you had to move him up the board because I had him closer to
He's
the end
a little
of the
lower,
first round,
but
I think I like him more than your Leatherwoods or your Mayfields.
He's a little more athletic than those guys, and that's what we really want to see in an NFL tackle because they're going to be facing some amazing edge rushers. And he's also going to add a little bit of that run blocking for David Montgomery, who really, really popped off at the end of last season.
Damian Williams now, too.
Damian could be a little rotation guy. We'll see. I'm still hoping that David Montgomery is the main man. Cohen, we really don't know about, but either way, we're going to protect whoever is back there. I think it's going to be Andy.
Probably Red Rifle, yep.
Something, we never know.
Never know.
No, but I'm not a hater on Andy Dalton. I'm not in love with it, but Andy... Oh, Micro Mike, if you're watching this, you can laugh. I know you're the hater, but anyway.
How could anyone in the NFC North not love Ryan Pace for that awesome move to bring in the best backup in the league, Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton will be dealing with a better O-line with the Bears, considering all the injuries the Cowboys had last season. And Tevin Jenkins is just a really good pick here. We got rid of Bobby Massey, and I think it would be really nice for our line.
Yeah. At 21 here, Alex Leatherwood, we just talked about him. Falls down one pick to the Colts here. I had this in my last mock draft. Alex Leatherwood is a solid run blocker. I think this really helps JT, Marlon Mack coming back on a one-year deal. Maybe we'll see him in the mix. Naheem Hines, whoever it is. I think that Anthony Costanzo retirement has some big implications for this football team. They did bring back T.Y. Hilton. That's a big deal. It's going to help Carson Wentz out in the passing game. Kind of lowers the standard for wide receiver need in the first round here, although there are some studs left on the board here like Bateman, still available, and some other names as well. But I think it's important. You got to protect Carson Wentz. His main issue in Philly was he was getting smoked. So go out there, get Leatherwood, help the run and pass game. This makes sense for me at 21.
They lost Anthony Costanzo, so it's the biggest need. That team is pretty solid for the most part. He
was all-pro type
Very,
player.
very good. And again, with that T.Y. Hilton, that was my thinking. I was thinking that, again, wide receiver class is pretty deep. If they did want to address it, they could do it later on.
Of course.
And it's just tackle is available here, and Leatherwood is very good. And that run blocking scheme and those guys in the middle are just going to love having a guy like Leatherwood who can dominate. He can absolutely dominate in run block. I think we need to see more from his pass blocking. He is a little slower. We see that kind of thing from Sam Cosmi as well, and Jalen Mayfield as well. It's something that can be developed, like I said, but Alex Leatherwood, I think, is a really nice pick for the Colts.
Yeah, Chris Ballard, this front office, if you're a Colts fan, I'd have a lot of confidence in these guys. They run the show pretty well here.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'd be confident whatever direction they go at 21. Then at 22, Rashad Bateman heads to the Tennessee Titans. Bateman, probably my favorite under-the-radar wide receiver. Maybe not even under the radar at this point because I think he's gotten that hype that he deserves. But he's still not going to go ahead of your Waddles, your Smiths, your Chases. That's how good this NFL wide receiver class is in 2021. The Titans are getting a stud here. He's one of the best route runners in this class.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams-esque, if you ask me. As a Green Bay Packer fan, when I watch this guy's tape, he immediately screams Adams with a faster 40 time.
Yeah.
Probably coming into the league. Adams ran like a 4.51, I think. So Bateman's going to come in with great awareness of how to run routes and separate at the NFL level. The sky's the limit for him here, and I think Tennessee with A.J. Brown could be a deadly pairing.
He was much faster in his 40 than I had ever expected. Clearly they don't run the 40 in pads, but again, still very impressive, especially with how good his route running is, how expansive his tree is. He could be that Justin Jefferson of this draft.
Yes, the steal.
He's that sneaky receiver that translates really well, very coachable, is just a QB's best friend.
Yes.
I think that he can be that to Ryan Tannehill, and that offense is in need of another receiver. Corey Davis left, and A.J. Brown is that dominant guy, and Bateman can be that every down guy. I think that it would be a perfect pick for the Titans.
Yeah, I love this here at 22. Then 23 here, a new face on the SFS channel, Tyson Campbell, the cornerback out of Georgia. Not even his teammate Eric Stokes, heads to New York here. There's a big need in that secondary.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Tyson Campbell and what he brings to the table for this Jets football team.
So if you're a Jets fan here and you know who Eric Stokes is, but you may have also seen the pro day from both of them. They both ran very fast. But the difference is Tyson Campbell's a little bigger than Eric Stokes. I believe he's 6'1". He's about 185, which is a little slimmer, but he's got that length, which is a big thing with a team who needs a dominant guy. I think Tyson Campbell can be that guy, and he's got the speed to go with it. And I think it's just a value pick here. Corner's a big thing.
Yeah, something we talked about here before this mock draft is that the new prototype for cornerback ones in the league is those taller type bodies with longer arms and the speed to keep up with any type of wide receiver. Tyson Campbell, 6'1 to 6'2 in that range. He's a slimmer guy. He does have that speed like you talked about. And I think this is just a big team need for the Jets. That's what we're all about here on the channel. He's great at press man coverage. That's what he excelled at in his time in college. And I think what puts him ahead of Eric Stokes for me is that sometimes Eric Stokes gets a little bit lost in his coverage. Campbell seems to be the more of a guy who's going to be up in your face, tight coverage. He has been knocked for a bit of face guarding, and that might draw some penalty flags in the NFL, but I think that's going to limit the separation wide receivers have from him, and I think that's going to overall turn this into a potentially solid pick here at 23. Then at 24, Wyatt Davis heads to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't care if Wyatt Davis plays center or offensive guard. You need interior offensive linemen. The Steelers' run game was awful last season. You're losing more guys this past season, and this offseason they have lost one, maybe even two more starters. You need a new running back as well. But look, it doesn't matter who's at running back if there's no one blocking for him. Wyatt Davis, one of the best interior linemen in the country. Go out there, Pittsburgh. You have to address this within the first 3 rounds, 100%. Please improve that offensive line, because without it, your pass game is your whole offense, and we saw them crumble with that philosophy last season.
That was exactly my thought. Here I was thinking, Najee Harris, but Najee needs some line to block for him. And Wyatt Davis is a guy that's going to fill that hole. They lost Pouncey, and Villanueva is not meant to come back. He's a free agent. So they're going to have some holes, and I think that you take the best interior guy available at this point, Wyatt Davis, who has been very impressive, and Pittsburgh Steelers are putting together a better O-line right away there.
Right. At 25 here, Trayvon Merrick heads to the Jags out of TCU. I think this is a solid pick. The Jags are a very young football team. Just take the best player available at a position of need here to go along with that Trevor Lawrence pick at number 1 overall. I think Merrick, give him a couple of years, and he might be one of the better safeties in the league. He has a lot of raw intangibles. I've seen him make some great plays in coverage. He has shown a lot on tape. I think he's a guy who's a willing tackler. He's great as a single high safety, and he can even play 2 in the box as well. So Merrick is a very versatile piece here, and I think that regardless of what he's asked to do by Urban Meyer's coaching staff, he will find some success with the Jags.
Yeah, safety is a huge need for this team. And again, they're very young. They're going to put together that young defense again and maybe try to move back to that 2018 where they had some very talented young secondary players that light up that defense. It makes it very exciting, and it makes it kind of scary for quarterbacks when you got all these guys who have good chemistry and they're working together very well, and a safety who can be a leader and be that tackler but also coverage guy.
Yeah, the AFC South is a wide open door. There's no one who has a firm grasp in that division. Watson, probably not playing for the Texans, maybe not anyone next season, we'll see. The Colts, Carson Wentz, new quarterback situation, we don't know there. And the Titans have very, very strong defensive woes right now. So lots of ways to go about this here. I think the Jags could be right back in the mix within a season or two. At 26 here, Zaven Collins finally off the board to the Cleveland Browns. I think this is a great position of need here. Tell us why linebacker in general and Zaven Collins helps out this Cleveland football team so much.
Yeah, like I said earlier, Zaven Collins is one of our favorite linebackers. He has everything you want in an NFL linebacker. He's got great speed. He can even pass rush in the blitz.
Yep.
He's got good coverage and very good tackling. He can fill gaps. and he's a fun guy. And he puts some personality into that already pretty exciting defense. They just need to put it all together, and linebacker is the perfect position to do that with. Myles Garrett is on the edge. He's a very fun character. And then you get a guy who kind of solidifies not just the secondary, but also the run stop.
Yeah, and Zaven Collins is a guy who has done literally everything you could ever imagine on tape. This guy is a stud, and linebacker is a crucial need for the Browns. This could be a huge pick for them at 26. At 27, the Ravens take Gregory Rousseau, the edge out of Miami. A bit more of a raw prospect, but a guy with a crazy high ceiling. I think we're starting to see that Ravens defense kind of erode. They've been losing pieces in free agency the last couple seasons. You just need to reinsert talent here. I know wide receiver is a position of need. They brought in Sammy Watkins, and by no means do I think that solves their wide receiver one issues. I think that's another guy who's going to be hurt for 8 games a year and have some issues. So poor Lamar Jackson literally has to be a running back.
Yeah.
But nonetheless here, I think Gregory Rousseau can get things done. And I think in turn, if you help revamp that defensive front and pass rush, you might take some more pressure off that offense, which I think could be a critical part here.
My thought here is Gregory Rousseau, you may be thinking he should have gone way earlier. But again, he is he's kind of a project player. And I think that receiver, again, is pretty deep in this draft. There's still maybe a few free agent receivers that we haven't seen. So Gregory Rousseau is just a very good, valuable pick for a defense that is kind of reeling. They need some new young talent, especially pass rushers. They just lost Judon to the Patriots. Yep. And I think that it's an exciting player who could end up being the top pass rusher in this draft.
At 28 here, Joseph Osai, the linebacker out of Texas, heads to the New Orleans Saints. Yeah. I know you are super high on Joseph Osai. I love the speed I see out of him on tape. I think that bending the edge could be one of his best strengths in the league here. But why are the Saints a good fit for Joseph Osai?
Yeah, they just lost Hendrickson.
Yep.
And he was kind of a surprise. We didn't expect him to be as good of a pass rusher as he was.
Got his money.
Yep, he did. And we're expecting them to need that pass rusher. Middle linebacker is the other thing that you would address. But I think that some of those guys might fall. There's a lot of good linebackers in this draft. And Saints. Joseph Osai may be one of the best edge rushers left in this draft. And I think that it puts a little bit more excitement in that defense. And he's one of the best that I have seen. So fast, but also very good at reading the defense, not getting too deep, and just being an all-around very solid NFL prospect.
Yeah, the Saints just lost so many crucial defensive starters. They lost, Anzalone and Quan Alexander at the linebacker position. They've cut numerous interior D linemen. Trey Hendrickson walked in free agency. I think they cut Janoris Jenkins in the back end. They need so many players. Their cap hole was disgustingly huge.
They made it, though.
They did make it. We did it. Hooray.
We did it.
But the Saints just revamped talent in this football team. You're looking for your franchise quarterback. You've got time here. Joseph Osai could be a huge, huge pick here with the 28th overall selection because of the potential he has and what he can do bending the edge. At 29, my Green Bay Packers, I'll be honest, not my favorite pick, but I think Rondale Moore could add some spark to this offense. I think that right now the direction this football team is headed from Matt LaFleur's offensive build is the taller wide receivers because we don't have a Cobb-like guy, as you can see in the backdrop here, but Rondale Moore is that guy. I think I would like to see a guy with this kind of speed and flash on the team. He did only go 5'7", which is a bit small, but I do think the explosiveness is valid here, and I think Rodgers would love to have a guy with this much talent.
That's why Rondale Moore has been falling, quite frankly. He had an amazing pro day. He was jumping like a maniac and ran a very good 40. But I think that it's time for that Randall Cobb kind of guy to come back to the Packers and just be that slot guy who can run really nice routes and get those short yardage plays that you've kind of been missing, because I know we've had Terrace Marshall mocked here, another big guy. I just think it is time for the little guy.
Yeah. He could make a big impact. I mean, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's good for one wide open 50-yard bomb drop per game.
Yes.
So he will haul them in at the most inopportune times when you're up by 25. But if you need a big play in a game, you can expect it to go right through the cradle. So at 30 here, we've got the Buffalo Bills, another new name here. Tell us about the Bills' new interior defensive lineman and what this adds to this team that's really trying to make that next step to the Super Bowl.
This is another one where you kind of have to practice saying it, but it's Levi Onwuzurike. All right, you got that one? You might have to replay that one. Practice it yourself at home. Also, hey, you see the banner. Subscribe if you haven't yet. It's free. It's free. Why not?
If you're still here in this mock draft, there's a reason.
There's a reason.
Enjoying on some level the content you're seeing.
Hey, if you don't like us, you can unsubscribe. That's okay.
We'd love to have you guys around on the channel. Stick with us here. Fantasy football content. Draft guide drops next week for pre-ordering. Eric here, the boy on the channel, the featured guest here.
Yes.
He has got a lot of content, big featured part of that guide. So check us out. Stick around here. We'd love to have you. And drop a comment. If you disagree with our picks, we'd love to hear it, and we're sure you'll tell us anyways.
Yep.
So
Eric with a K. If you're gonna yell at me, this is mine, I suppose. He's putting all the pressure on me, but that's okay. So Levi Onwuzurike, he showed really good block shedding, which is exciting because that's a big thing in the NFL. He's not necessarily a pass rusher, but he block sheds and puts pressure on while also filling gaps.
Yeah. What I would say about this guy is his knock is that he's not a pass rusher, but he just reminds me of a bull in a china shop. He takes the offensive lineman and just shucks him to the side. He is a terrible tackler. He just kind of belly up and flails at the guy with the football. But, man, does he create havoc in the interior.
It kind of reminds me of Akeem Hicks. Because Akeem Hicks tackling is kind of just like a bear hug.
That's what he does. He grabs the back or whoever's got the football from the shoulders and just pushes them to the dirt if he's going to get them. But the first point of contact, even in double teams, he'll take both guys and just rip right through them. This guy's got a lot of potential, and I think that for an interior D-line with Ed Oliver on it already, you've got two guys who could take double-team blocks. That's a huge asset for your a 4-3 defense. Yeah,
Onwuzurike is 290, so he's a little on the lighter side of an interior D lineman, but I love that athleticism inside, and especially for a Bills team that needs not necessarily, this isn't a pass rusher, but a guy who can put a little more pressure on and just move the offensive line a little more.
All right, here at 31, it's time for an SFS rant here. In my last mock, I went to town raving about how the Chiefs have no choice other than to pick offensive tackle.
Yep.
And Eric agrees with me here. Jalen Mayfield is the best guy available on the board out of Michigan. He's a bit more of a raw prospect, a bit more of a run blocker.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Kansas City, you have to pick an offensive tackle or Patrick Mahomes is going to get killed in the backfield. You're going to lose football games if you can't keep him upright. The dude ran for, 500 yards of scrambling around in the pocket in the Super Bowl.
He ran for 5 football fields. That's insane.
Tampa Bay's pass rush is ridiculous. There's other teams with good pass rushes. You're not going to survive and make it to other Super Bowls if you can't protect Mahomes. Another thing, please run the football some more. I think I would love to see what the average yards per clip was for Clyde Edwards-Helaire because whenever they handed it off, I felt like he broke 3 tackles and ran for 15 yards. But something has to change here. Andy Reid, look, he's a great play caller. Dude was way too predictable in the Super Bowl. I love the Chiefs. That offense is amazing.
Yeah.
But go out there and please help him. You got Joe Thuney, great pickup on the interior offensive line. Another reason to run the football. Great offensive guard. But look, Mayfield here at 31, there's no other way to go about this. Best lineman on the board. You have to keep your quarterback upright, especially when he's the highest paid and the most talented player in the league.
Yeah, I think we compared Jalen Mayfield a little bit with Leatherwood. He's a really good run blocker. We need to see a little more in the pass blocking, but either way, you're putting a young talent there that you can develop. Again, with that offensive line, you can develop them really well. And Jalen Mayfield is very athletic. I think that even if you did move him inside and they went out for a guy like Villanueva, or just, picked up another tackle. Either way, this is a really nice first-round pick because you have a lot of ability there and some flexibility with where you can play.
Yeah, even if they pick up another vet off the free agent market, still, I think you pick offensive line here, especially bookend tackle position, because you're investing into your future here. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be the guy, and you want to keep him around there until the end of his career, quite frankly. So go out there and protect him. There's no excuses here. You have to keep your franchise safe. And finally here, Tampa Bay, tell us about the last pick in our first round mock here. It's been a long one, but we've talked about some great topics here and had some really great discussion about all the stuff that's went down here in the past 24 hours in the NFL trade market. So, Eric, take it away with the last pick here.
I know some of you really like the long videos, so that's good. If you're watching the whole thing, that's impressive. And Azeez Ojulari, there's another fun name for you. He is another one of my favorite edge rushers, along with Osai. He's shown great athleticism, very strong, but fast. He's very dominant on the edge. He can bend, like you said, with Osai. And Ojulari is just really dominant, and it's kind of just that luxury pick. He can develop behind Shaq Barrett and JPP, and this team is so good. But edge rusher, like we said before, can go away very quickly. Shaq Barrett was secured, and JPP's getting older, so if you can develop a guy that can just be plugged right in when one of those guys heads out, which it would be JPP at this point, because Shaq signed
I think it's 4 years, $72 million.
Yeah, 4-year contract. So we're expecting him to stay there. So is it going to be a Shaq Ojulari? We're expecting him to be very nice in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that he is a guy who, in terms of his pass rushing, or the way he does it, and his technique, it's very Barrett-esque. It's power, driving the offensive lineman back into the quarterback and then shedding at the last moment, and even strip sacks as well as a big part of Shaq Barrett's game. One thing I want to touch on here is one of our faithful viewers here who watches all of our mock drafts, seems to be a Tampa Bay fan, I'd assume. He always talks about how Najee Harris is who he has mocked to the Bucs here at 32. We didn't have any running backs going here the first round. But I think that today, Leonard Fournette re-signed with Tampa Bay. You've got yourself 3 running backs on the roster now. I think, as much as I've actually considered that in previous videos, I think that that's now out of the picture. You've got yourself Ronald Jones, who I think should be the starter. I think you agree with me there.
I very much agree.
Ronald Jones could be a top 10 fantasy football back if he got a 20 touch per game workload. Nonetheless, you bring back Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny. He had a great run in that postseason. And then you've got a second-year player like Keyshawn Vaughn. Just wait. You can get a guy in the 4th, 5th round to fill out that 4th spot on the depth chart. You don't need to invest in running back here in the first round. If you're going to invest into a luxury position, the pass rush is the way to go.
Yep.
Schefter tweeted out today, Tampa Bay is the first team in the Super Bowl era to bring back all 22 of their starting players. That is
very impressive.
Freakishly terrifying. There's only one man, and his name is Nick Foles, who can stop the Tampa Bay Bucs. But nonetheless,
maybe Nick will rise and the Bears will play the Buccaneers. And
This was Eric's Mock Draft 2.0 here on the SFS channel. It's been a while since we've had him on, but like I said at the beginning of this one, he's been working behind the scenes here. He's the guy coming out with all the thumbnails for these mock drafts and my other videos, and he's been working hard on that draft guide that's dropping in a little under a week here. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys later, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace out.